Hi everyone, today I want to show you how to make raw frozen cookie dough. Now this summer has just been so hot that I've just been trying to avoid turning on the oven, which is sometimes hard for me. And so I wanted to make this no-bake cookie dough recipe and share it with you. So this recipe is special because you store it in the freezer and it does contain eggs which keep it soft in the freezer, but then I show you how to pasteurize eggs so it's safe to eat. You'll need 40 grams of unsalted butter. If you use salted butter, just omit the salt, 1 large egg, 40 grams of brown sugar, 40 grams of quick cook oats, 80 grams of barley flour. You can use any flour, I just had barley flour. For the oats and the flour, you can pre-toast them if you're afraid of eating raw flour or raw oats. Half a teaspoon of salt, again you can omit it if you used salted butter, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, a quarter teaspoon of ground nutmeg, half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. First, pack an egg into a metal bowl. This doesn't have to be a metal bowl, but it does have to be a heat-proof bowl because we're going to be heating the egg. Next, add your 40 grams of brown sugar. And now we're going to heat this over, a double boiler. So in a medium saucepan, add enough water to cover the bottom and then set your metal bowl with your egg and sugar on top of it. Turn the stove on to medium-low heat, so I have it at 4 out of 9 slots for my heat dial, and then whisk until the sugar dissolves. This takes 2 to 3 minutes, especially since I had some lumps in my brown sugar. Whisking also helps to add some air into it, so almost like making a sponge cake, but not that much whisking. After 3 minutes or so, you'll notice that the eggs are light yellow in color and foamy, and it's the air that helps keep the cookie from being hard when it's frozen. And then we need to heat the egg up to 65 degrees Celsius, which is about 149 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is to pasteurize the egg so that the cookie dough is safe to eat even without baking. So now you want to add the butter, and then just keep stirring with your whisk. You don't have to really beat it or anything. Just stir with a whisk until the butter melts, and then continue to heat over the stove top until you reach 65 degrees Celsius. I'll be checking the temperature with an infrared thermometer, but if you don't have one, a candy thermometer or a meat thermometer both work. If you don't have a thermometer at all, I cooked this for about 8 minutes. So if you cook this for 8 to 10 minutes and you can see that the mixture has thickened, it should be safe. Not that easy to gauge temperature by touch for 65 degrees because it just feels hot. So just checking the temperature, and yes, it's at 65 degrees Celsius. So I'm ready to take it off the stove. The eggs are pasteurized and it should be safe to eat now. So I'm removing it from the heat and then just stirring it a few times to prevent it from setting. So I forgot to press record, but I just added 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now I'm going to give it a stir and then add my flour all in one go. And then my salt, half a teaspoon. Now that might seem like a lot for such a small recipe, but for some reason I like my freezer treats to be slightly on the salty side. And then I just added my spice, so the cinnamon and the nutmeg. So I'm just stirring until this comes into a really soft dough. Keep in mind, it's soft because it's still warm from being on the stovetop. So once this gets a chance to chill, it will firm up. Now I'm going to stir in my quick cook oats. You can also add other things that you like, for example, coconut, nuts, or chocolate chips. Now keep in mind, if you're adding chocolate chips, you want to cool the dough until it's at least room temperature before adding it, or else you're just going to get a chocolatey mess because the chocolate chips are going to melt. So just stirring until the dough comes together. And then we're going to portion them out into cookie bites on a baking sheet. So I have a baking sheet with a piece of cling wrap on the bottom just for easy cleanup. So just take a tablespoon of the dough and then roll it into whatever shape you want. So I'm going to roll mine into a little cylinder. And I don't really know why, I've always thought of frozen cookie dough in this shape. Maybe I've seen it in ice cream before, but it sort of reminds me of the stuff I used to feed the mice in my lab. Better not think about that. But anyway, just keep working on it, and I find that it's easier if your hands are slightly wet. So get a little bowl of water and then just dampen your hands, and it makes the cookie dough less sticky. If you find that the dough is too soft to work with, just put it in the fridge for 15-20 minutes and it'll be a little bit firmer and easier to shape. This recipe makes about 24 depending on how big your cookie dough is, so I'm just going to keep rolling. Okay, so it's all rolled out and I'm going to put them in the freezer for 15 minutes, and then you can store them in an airtight container for about a week. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!